Hi class, welcome to today's lesson. I'm so glad that you all showed up today because we're going to be doing something really exciting and really useful for fashion majors. How was everyone's weekend?
Great.
Super, I'm so excited to hear that. Let's jump right into our lesson today. Our objective is given access to the internet, a printer, magazines, and various art supplies, be able to create a mood board demonstrating knowledge of a fashion trend or a historical fashion topic. Now, does everyone know what a mood board is?
No.
No? Well, awesome, because we're going to be kind of diving into what exactly a mood board is, what it's used for, and how you can create the best one possible today. It's important that we all know how to create a mood board because they greatly assist in enforcing the theme of fashion and creative presentations. Does anybody have any classes this semester that you would need to use a mood board for?
Yes.
Awesome. So you can definitely take this lesson and apply it to all those classes. And has everyone seen or done a mood board before?
I've seen examples, but I'm not quite sure.
Cool. I'm going to show you some more examples today, and then we'll go step by step in learning how to make one. Okay. Mood boards, in case you didn't know, express a theme regarding trends, a historical time period, or other fashion topics by using color, pattern, photos, fabric swatches, and other decorative items. For example, I brought a mood board that I've already completed, and can you describe the elements that I used to create this theme?
Photos.
Exactly. What else?
Markers. Borders.
Little trim. I used some vintage paper, but the key thing that you guys locked in on was a mix of old and new photos, which is really important when you're doing a historical mood board. Okay, so now we're going to go step by step through making a mood board. The first thing that I like to do is to choose my theme. Do you want to do a historical theme, a trended theme, a design theme? Whatever you want to do, you can definitely express through a mood board. And my inspiration was Coco Chanel through the ages. So my board was Chanel then and Chanel now. So I'll be recreating that board using supplies I brought today. What kind of trends do you guys think you'd like to use in your mood boards?
Picture.
Maybe one from like a certain decade, like an 80s theme board.
Definitely, and definitely some cool trends out there to use with the 80s mood board. Okay. Step 2 is you select photos that represent the theme you're trying to portray. Like I said, today I'm going to be making a Chanel then and now mood board. So I selected some old photos. One here of Audrey Hepburn in the Chanel dress from Breakfast at Tiffany's. One of Coco Chanel. One of vintage Chanel shoots. One of Jackie O in her Chanel suit. Audrey Hepburn playing Sabrina in one of the first little black dresses in 1954. Chanel suit now, this was on the runway in winter 2011, and another one of Jackie O getting off a plane with JFK in her famous pink Chanel suit. I also used photos from a magazine publication of current Chanel suits that are on the market. So one of my favorite resources is magazines, like this one. I used Vogue for those photo cutouts, but you can also use trade publications like Women's Wear Daily, online publications, or even textbooks to find some great photos. Okay, so next you choose your decorative items. What I like to do is lay out all the decorative items that I might use and then edit down from there. So for this board, I've laid out some fabric swatches that I might use. I've laid out some vintage printed paper that I could use as a great background. I've laid out trim stickers, flowers, peace signs if I was doing kind of that 60s inspired board, little buttons, and then also just some great tools to use when you're creating a mood board that you should always have around. Paint is a great trim item. Get a good big stick of Elmer's glue because you don't want any edges sticking up. Decorative scissors. And this foam brush is great for getting those edges smoothed out on photos to make your mood board look neat and professional. The other thing that I like to use is lettering. Help, it stopped. It jumped out.
Is it still recording?
I don't know.
Oh, shit, doobies.
I was on a roll, Caitlin. Is it still
You're still
going?
going.
Oh no! Okay. The other thing that I like to use is this great professional lettering because I don't like to write my own lettering because I have sloppy handwriting. So I like to use these little shiny metallic letters. They create a really great feel. Just wanted to apologize for that interruption. My computer decided that it wanted a break. And I didn't. So let's keep on moving. So we already talked about selecting key photos, but does anyone know what one of the biggest things you can do to make a historical mood board even better with your photos?
No.
Well, you can use a mix of old and new photos by showing the transition from trends of the 1920s, 1940s, and other earlier decades, like I did with the Jackie O photos and the Audrey Hepburn photos, and then using current photos with them, you show where the designer has been and where they're going. So that's a really good key thing to use in your mood board. So the third step of making a mood board is to edit down everything and choose what you're actually using. So for my mood board, I'm going to use some of the stickers I picked out, this great vintage paper, some glue, some letters, and some decorative scissors. But it works best if you lay everything out ahead of time and then just kind of edit your supplies down from there. So step 4 is your trial run. This is when you get your blank mood board, like I have right here. Okay. Black is the easiest color mood board to use because with the white one, if you're doing paint on it, you have to do multiple coats. But with the black, it shows metallic Sharpies and paint a little bit better. Okay. So you start with your mood board and you lay it down flat on a flat surface, which obviously I can't show you on camera, but just picture it in your mind. And so what you do is a trial run. So I would take this paper and I would try to match up photos on it and trims about how each photo would look together. So maybe I think these two photos would look great together. And I would add trim, plan out where I'm doing my lettering, and I would try a couple different layouts to see which one looks best before I glue anything down. And that way you can ensure that your layout's going to be very neat and professional when you actually glue everything all the way down. Okay, once you've decided on a layout that works best for you, carefully using your Elmer's glue and a hot glue gun, glue all the elements to the board. Make sure that no photo edges are sticking up and that all decorative elements are glued firmly in place. If you're using stickers, just make sure they're pressed down really good because they can sometimes come up in transport of the mood board. Photos and elements should fit the board and they should be trimmed neatly. That means we don't want any little pieces of paper hanging over the board because that looks unprofessional and sloppy. If you're using fabric to cover the entire board, make sure that you cover the edges and glue the fabric to the back of the board. So make sure that there's a 1 inch at least overhang from the fabric that you glue to the front of the board that you can bring around back to secure it tightly. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Great. And the most important thing to remember when creating your mood board is to make it look neat and professional. Make sure everything's legible, that it's not too busy, but that it has enough elements to keep the interest of who you're presenting it to. The mood board that I showed you is neat and professional. And it conveys the theme of Coco Chanel, then and now, very well, using all the decorative items that we talked about to begin with. The vintage looking back paper, the photos from now and vintage photos, and decorative trims that add to instead of detract from the presentation. Don't get too busy though with your decorative elements because that can detract from what you're trying to convey information-wise. And simplicity is great, but some fabric swatches would have greatly enhanced my theme when I did that mood board. That was only the second one I ever did, so from then on out I definitely use fabric swatches to make it more real to the audience. Okay, so now that I've explained step by step how to create a mood board, does anyone have any questions about any of the steps I've gone over?
No, I'm good.
What about you, Caitlin?
No questions
No
here.
questions? Okay. Well, now that I've shown you all the steps, and I know you've been taking notes, you're going to have 1 week to create a presentation board of your own using whatever inspiration you want, but just be prepared to give at least a 5-minute speech to the class about what theme you chose and why, and how the elements that you chose to put on your mood board add to the theme of that board. So since you're now all experts in creating a mood board, I'm sure this will be no problem for you. Keep in mind that I highly suggest using a mix of old and new photos and using color on the board, either through background paper or markers. And again, if you have any questions regarding one of the steps, raise your hand, let me know, and I'll be glad to go over the steps one more time. So please bring your completed mood boards to class next week and be ready to present them to the class. Okay, and don't forget that our objective for the day, just as you're leaving and reviewing all your aspects of your mood boards, our objective today was, given access to the internet, a printer, magazines, and various art supplies, be able to create a mood board demonstrating knowledge of a fashion trend or a historical time period. So make sure that you get those mood boards ready. If you have any questions, let me know after class. Thanks, class.